Hello friends, Tanya here with day 5 of the 2025 Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar. Let's take a look behind what's in day number 5. We've had some really diverse dies this time. This time we have, a bunch of flowers. How beautiful is that? And they actually do look very similar to the artwork on this Crafty Advent Calendar box. Look at that. Three different kinds of flowers here, some really pretty variety. One's more like a bud, one's an open four-petal, and one is a very lush flower with lots of ruffly stamens out the end. There's only 3 pieces to this particular flower. We're using some contrasting colors here. We've got a nice poppy red, a bright yellow, and an olivey green. That assembles very nicely. I love all of the die cut details that are cut right into these flowers. That's one of my favorite things about these Spellbinders dies. They do a great job of adding extra details with embossing and extra die cuts. The centers for this flower, after I'm assembling this, I realized I could have added, like the solid circle could have been a different color, like black. I know anemones and poppies have a real pop of color, like a secondary color in their stamens. I missed an opportunity there, but that's okay. We're gonna live with it. I used some gold cardstock from the gold assortment of treasured cardstock for that. We have definitely got a warm tone gradient here. We've got red, yellow, and orange represented here, even if there is a bit of a more coral tone to that. So we're going to go with that. I use scattered straw, ripe persimmon, and candied apple, and we're going to do some ink blending. Just going to do a gradient across this 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of white cardstock. This is hammer mill, yes, because I'm going to do some foiling on this card. Shocker, right? I do love to foil. I'm going to ink blend this smoothly. I have been loving on my new Altenew inks, which are fantastic, and they do work fantastic for stenciling. They are a bit more laborious for ink blending an entire panel of cardstock. Distress oxides were made for this, so that's not shocking that it is definitely the distress oxides that I move back towards. Next, I pulled out the pressed lace borders. I fell in love with these as soon as I saw them, but I honestly didn't use them. I think I used them once since I got them, and oh my gosh, sometimes there are just so many new things that I need to work with. I don't get to play with whatever is in front of my face. And I wanted some lacy layers, and this is what I pulled out. There are lots of different ways you could do this. I'm sure in your stash you have some lacy dies or embossing folders, anything that's a border. Now this doesn't completely fit on the heating element as I taped it, but that's okay. We'll take the first 2 off, and then I will put this panel back on the glimmer system and run it through for that 3rd line of foiling, and oh my gosh, the reveal. This is just as I had envisioned it. I used, I think that is satin champagne. It's a nice pale gold, and it's nice and delicate on this really bold colored distress oxide ink blended panel. And we'll do that last one, and this is a really fine one, and you'll see my vision here shortly. So I've got all 3 of those, and then I have just a piece of white hammer mill scrap that I found that fits behind this perfectly, and we did that for the inside of the card. Now there are coordinating dies, so you can cut these borders out, which I love, love, love that about this set. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of those layers. And I'm also going to use the 5x7 Matting Basic Set B. I'm going to use the largest die there to square up all of those layers. So I got one from one half sheet of cardstock. I got all three of these layers, and I didn't have to use three different colors. Next, we're going to use an 3D embossing folder called Soaring. This is from the Dina Wakley Collaged Birds collection. There are birds soaring through this scripty embossing folder. Next, we're going to pull out the Solar Paste in Golden Hour, which is this very pale gold. I just wanted a little bit of iridescent look here. When you turn this in the light, it really shines and it adds just the perfect little extra boost here on that scripty embossed background. I love this. Again, so much great stuff has come out. I haven't had time to use everything as much as I would have liked, or at all. Let's be honest. There's Spellbinders has really been doing a great job with coming up with some really creative things. Now I'm adding just a strip of cardstock, kind of an inch or so below the detailed cut edge, because I don't want to create this mountain of layers on this. So I'm adding just enough right below the lacy edge to pop that up a bit, because we're going to be tucking our flowers in. So I'm going to add a little glue on that raised portion and on the bottom edge of each of these panels, and we'll start gluing these down to the the large piece that we're going to put down on our card front. So I'm just carefully lining up the edges, making this as straight as I can. And since I used the same die to die cut the white embossed panel as I used for all of these layers, it actually is quite easy. When you cut with your trimmer or with your guillotine, there are times when you have it off just a fraction. And when you use a die, it is what it is, perfect every time. So I'm adding a little bit of glue to the extra layer of cardstock that I added behind that embossed panel. And I used watercolor paper to do that embossed bird, the scripty birdie one, the soaring birds. It really amps up the level of embossing detail when you are using a 3D embossing folder to use heavyweight cardstock like a watercolor. And I have some very cheap 140-pound watercolor cardstock that I use specifically for those kinds of things. Now you can see that I took that border that I did of white and added that to the inside of the card. Now we're going to start tucking all of these flowers in. Now when I die cut these different pieces for the flowers, I cut out a whole bunch, and I'm going to use every single flower that I created. These were very easy to put together. I just made, I think I made 3 or 4 or 5 of each of the flowers depending on the size, because you don't want as many big flowers as you do of the smaller flowers. It just looks like better balance when the big flowers, which are going to take up more space, are not as numerous as the smaller flowers. So I'm going to take one of these little buds and add that on the first layer. And I'm trying to do lighter toned flowers on the bottom tier, because that's where the colors around it are darkest. I want the most amount of contrast in each of these layers, so that's how I'm choosing what colors go where. We have more of these little buds. I think I had 4 or 5 of these buds, and we're going to use all of them. There's the 4 petal flowers that we're going to add as a kind of filler. And earlier you saw me drop a fully glued panel right on top of that middle layer of lacy die cut. And yeah, it did leave some glue marks. So I'm trying to cover those as much as I can. Other than tucking these flowers into the different layers in my vision, I didn't have a real specific plan of how this was going to work out. I was just gonna fly by the seat of my pants, which seems to be my specialty. I just sometimes I don't even have as much of a plan as I did with this one. Next, we're going to use the Holding Your Heart sentiments. I think that's from the same collection, from the Collaged Birds set collection, and it's got all of these great sentiments. And we're going to use a whole bunch of them. Now, I've foiled and die cut several of these in the past, and I'm using my quick and easy sentiment organizer. I'll try to remember to link a video here showing where I create those, and it's so easy. I love the coordinating die with these. They really make it easy. You foil once, you cut once, and you have all of these gorgeous sentiments. Now, this particular set has two press plates, better press plates that you can use with different sentiments, so that I can't remember, it's like 14 sentiments or something. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to use 4 sentiments on the outside of the card and 1 sentiment on the inside of the card. I just adhered the first one, that is hello my friend, and the next one says you are simply wonderful, and then this one says don't be tamed. And the last one is, I am so glad I know you. This is another great card to send to any of your friends who you just have been thinking about lately. I did add a couple extra layers of cardstock scrap behind each of those sentiments so that they would stand out nicely and ride over all of those levels. Last, we're going to add our sentiment to the inside just above that lacy border, and this one says, you matter more than you know. Next, we're going to pull out the Spellbinders Peach Opalescent sequins. I do love these sequins even on the inside of my card. I'm just going to dab three or four spots of glue on the inside of the card here and add my sequins. There are 3 sizes of sequins in this bag. It comes in a little bag. I moved it to one of these little embellishment holders. I love these. They are actually available on the Spellbinders website also. I hope I remember to link to that. They're very handy. I have been using them for a while. Then I'm adding a scattering of these sequins to the front of the card, and that completes the card for day number 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really have fun digging through my stash every single day when I'm making these. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done that. Check that description box below for a link to all of the products that I used today, and leave me a comment. I love to hear what you have to say. Until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.